We are the ones who are prepared to offer our minds and our souls and our bodies to go to Somalia to meet with the warring factions and to plead for a truce fire. We don't care.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to SADAQA. I'm Daoud BinBek. It's been described as the world's most devastating tragedy, the result of civil war and famine. There are reports that over 2,000 people die each day there. When we return, inshallah, we'll introduce you to a man with a plan for a ceasefire in Somalia.
Every day, we witness signs in our lives of mankind's proudest accomplishments. And gathered in many locations throughout our city are some who see these signs and know, Allahu Akbar, God is greater. They are called Muslim for those who submit to the will of God. And you are warmly encouraged to meet some of them on SADAQA with host Daoud BinBek.
We're back, and with me is Dr. Khalid al-Mansour. Dr. al-Mansour is an accomplished attorney, author, and lecturer. Recently, he announced plans for a ceasefire in Somalia. Assalamu alaikum, brother, and welcome to SADAQA.
Wa alaikum salam. Allah yasalamak.
Allah yasalamkum. I would like to begin first with the Somali situation. Could you give our audience an oversight of your objectives?
In my view, Somalia is an adjunct to a conspiracy by the West to destroy Islam. I think for the last few decades, the West has contemplated taking over Islam. And they have concluded that it is impossible today to take over Islam for many reasons, and therefore it should be destroyed. I think that destruction will come both through the mind, the manipulation of the mind, brainwashing, and through destroying Islamic institutions. Two areas of the world today, I feel, demonstrate the West's real intention. One is Somalia, and one is Bosnia-Herzegovina. I think in Somalia, in a nutshell, 1.5 million people are likely to die from starvation.
Wallah.
That starvation is being brought about by warring clans. So even if you wanted to give food, you can't get the food through. Consequently, a ceasefire or a truce is needed in order to bring food to Somalia. And that's what we want. We're prepared to sit in, beg in, crawl in. We want to shame the brothers of Muslims killing Muslims. We want them to stop it so that the lives of Muslims can be saved. That's the purpose of the truce and the ceasefire.
Is it similar to the myopia, the short-sightedness that we see of the gangs in our community?
I think it's a very, very close analogy, and we in fact intend to invite the gangs to be part of our mediation committee. We intend to bring a group of engineers who will look at how to rebuild the country, a group of the gang members who recently were successful in bringing about a truce. There are over 1,000 gangs in Los Angeles. The membership is somewhere between 200 and 300,000. These brothers in Los Angeles were able, because of 3 men, all 3 were Muslims, they were able to unite, and then they were able to persuade the gangs to effectuate a truce. And that truce was based upon history. They took Ralph Bunche, who had attended high school in South Central Los Angeles at Jefferson High School, and proposed a treaty of peace between the Arabs and the Israelis in 1948. They went back and modified that, and they were able to convince the gangs that they should adopt this truce. We believe that these experiences that the brothers went through will be helpful when we go to Somalia, because we're going to tell them simply. We're going to say there are millions of African Americans who have considered Islam and who might even convert to Islam. Well, yes. But if they see Muslims killing each other, why should they convert? So we're saying, as you look at these young black faces from America, stop the fighting. tell them that you have enough commitment to Islam, that you will not kill a Muslim. You will not permit Muslims to starve to death. That's the message that we want them to give our delegation, and we believe once they see our sincerity, we're not coming for one side or the other. We are coming in the name of Allah to promote the cause of Islam.
My goodness, that's remarkable. And that's a remarkable statement of vision that you and your delegation could in fact appeal to the hearts of the Somali factions to look at another perspective, to expand their vision across the Atlantic Ocean, and to see how the cause and effect of the debacle that is going on there could affect the rise of a people with whom they're basically unfamiliar with, and that is the Afro-American and his approach to Islam. Indeed, their approach to a new horizon.
I say that the Muslim world must focus clearly on Somalia to bring about a ceasefire, and then to make sure that they get the proper food and nutrition. And Bosnia, the problem there is that the West wants to let the Muslims be killed. It's another crusade, and what is needed in Bosnia is that the Muslims need arms to protect themselves.
That is remarkable, because the situation in Bosnia-Herzegovina is one of atrocities. As you said, the concentration camps
it's
that
genocide.
we've been reading about, it is genocide. And,
but the West doesn't want to send troops to Bosnia. They're simply saying, well, the problem is too complicated. We have to wait. And then they will go back to those same Muslims in Bosnia and tell them, your Muslim brothers could do nothing. You had to come and beg us. We had to deliver you. These are just steps that are being taken to destroy Islam, and the Islamic leaders are quiet and silent and timid, and we are doing nothing, and Allah will not forgive us if we do not defend our faith.
That is true, and that is as remarkable a Quranic pronouncement as can be made. I want to talk again about in a previous conversation, you said that your experience on the African continent goes back some 17, 18 years. Would you tell our audience about that?
Well, in 1954, I made my first trip to Africa. And in Africa, from the East Coast to West Coast, Allah blessed me to put 8 offices. So from Liberia over to Kenya, I've been active since 1964. It's been a very rewarding experience. It's been a profound experience through the grace of Allah. I've been able to meet a lot of people in all walks of life. I've stayed in presidents' palaces, and I've stayed in bush areas. I've stayed in little huts, and I'm comfortable either way. Yes. My interest is how to help spread Islam in Africa. Africa is the fastest growing, Islam is the fastest growing religion in Africa, and anyone who has seen the book Christianity, Islam, and the Negro Race, written by a profound intellectual by the name of Edward Blyden, will be able to put Islam in perspective. Blyden concluded that if it had not been for Islam, most of Africa would have been reduced to alcoholism. It would have been reduced to crime and illiteracy. That Islam brought literacy, it brought a respect for knowledge, it brought a respect for discipline, a respect for morality, and because of that respect, the colonial powers decided they wanted to destroy Islam. But Islam is now back in Africa, the fastest growing, as it is in America, as it is in the world. Yes. We now have an obligation to all of Africa and to all of the world to be thinking, to be planning, to be righteous, to be courageous, to be spiritual, to be capable of sacrifice and capable of discipline. In America, we can help Somalia tomorrow by getting the highest grades in the school. That's what I'm asking the young people to do. I can't take all the young people with me to Somalia, but yes, you are going to school tomorrow. Your job is to get the highest grades in America. Learn chemistry, learn physics, learn biology, learn computers, so that you can make a contribution to Africa and America and the world. That's the rule. I'm asking the husband and wife, do not degenerate to conflict in your home. Your job to help Somalia is to make sure your home is peaceful. I'm saying to the brothers who are working, be the best workers. These images build an irresistible momentum for Islam that no one can attack. That's the message that we're going to deliver to Somalia. Produce a ceasefire so that we can feed people with wholesome food, not the junk food and not the rejects, the people who have been hungry and starving. They can't eat all of a lot of bulky, solid foods. We have to have a transition program. These are human beings. That's our job. We must deliver.
That is true. That is true indeed. One other area that I was concerned about in a previous discussion that we had, the violence in Somalia, according to newspaper reports and the 10 o'clock news, the violence in Somalia is anarchical. They say that anyone and everyone is walking around with an AK-47, a grenade launcher. What do you think about your safety upon landing in Mogadishu?
I'll be as safe in Somalia as I am in South Central Los Angeles. The brothers have machine guns in Los Angeles, but they still have a respect. When they know that you are there because you are committed, they still have a respect. There are many brothers in gangs. Before they get ready to do someone harm, will ask if he's a Muslim, because the Muslims have a respect because of the way they've carried themselves. We're simply saying that yes, there's a risk, and yes, there's a danger, but we're Muslims. We have an obligation. We're going to die someday. The question is not whether we're going to die or not. The question is, how did we live? So we are saying, we're not asking all the blacks in America and the Muslims in America to go to Somalia. We're taking a group of people who are prepared to risk their lives. And we're saying to that group, and we're saying to Allah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, we want to make a contribution to the Muslims. And someone has to pay that price. When we look at the days of the Prophet, this is what was done. He carried bricks when he was 53 years old. He instructed people. He devised strategies for military conquest. He became a husband. He became a father. He did all things that needed to be done to set the pattern. We are simply fulfilling the prophecies. We're fulfilling the Quran. We're fulfilling our deen by submitting ourselves to Allah and getting, as Sheikh Ahmed Didat says, get the job done. Forget the excuses, forget the crutches, get the job done.
Before we close, speaking of Sheikh Ahmed Didat, in South Africa, would you tell our audience about your South Africa experience?
Well, I was invited to go to South Africa to participate in a lecture tour for about 2.5 weeks. I gave some 40 lectures. Sheikh Didat and his organization sponsored that tour. I learned an incredible amount. I learned to really respect Sheikh Didat because I went to his home. I watched the way his children treated him. I watched the way his family treated him. I watched the way his son treated him. I watched the way he was constantly talking about Islam, spend in the way of Islam. I learned that shaka is not a Zulu word. I learned that it is highly improbable that Shaka would have given himself a name that no one understood. The probability is his name was Sheikh, and that he was impacted by the Karenga tribes who populated Mozambique and populated Zimbabwe. These were Muslim tribes and are Muslim today.
What a connection.
I've seen the Arabic words in the Zulu language. I spoke to the Zulus, I spoke to the Hosha, and we, through the grace of Allah, were able to make a contribution to the realization of Islam in the 20th and the 21st century. I'm saying that Islam is so great. Allahu Akbar. The time has come now for us to make that step on offense. We've been on defense too long. From slavery to colonialism, we have perfected defensive strategies. It's time now to go on offense. To hold up a program for development. I think that all of our listeners have a role to play in this program, and we want to join hands with Sheikh Ahmed Didat and Muslims all over the world. Forget the divisions. We have enough divisions. It's now time for unity. We join hands together and we get the job done. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Dr. al-Mansour, I hope that this segment of SADAQA will begin the offensive that will bring about the unity, that will bring about the spontaneity of good deeds and practice amongst the Muslims throughout the world.
Inshallah.
And thank you, inshallah. Who are those brothers in the red hamamim? Gerard Bilal finds out after this.
These are the words of witness. Say them with sincerity, and you have become Muslim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Take Me to Your Leader. Inshallah, today we'll give you a glimpse of the most distinguished Naqshabandi Sufi Order. Many of you have seen them. They're quite distinctive in their appearance. If you're like me, you've had questions. To answer mine, I made the request, take me to your leader. I've seen them in Mecca. I've seen one in Washington, D.C. I've seen them in New Mexico and Chicago. The distinctive red turbans worn by followers of Sheikh Nazim al-Kubruzi al-Haqqani. Brother, I noticed you are wearing feathers in your amaran. Could you tell us the significance of that?
The sunnah. The sunnah. Basically, you know, I try to do what the Prophet say. You know, we use miswak, vikr a lot, or what, you know, the feathers, because I was told, you know, the brothers wore feathers back in the time of the Prophet. May the peace and blessing be upon him. You know, so I try to do what my brothers did, my forefathers before me, because, you know, by me doing that, well, you know, there's blessing and barakah in it, because I'm not perfect. And Sheikh Abdul Jabbar Abdul Aziz. That's what Sheikh Nazim made.
Sheikh Nazim gave you that name.
Right. He told me that I had a deep secret, and that my heart was pure because of who I am.
How did you meet Sheikh Nazim?
First I met Sheikh Ishan, and when I met Sheikh Ishan had so much energy, you know, I couldn't deny the truth. You know, you can't deny the truth when you look at the truth and reality. Reality is you, you know. When you look at that, well, you know, you just can't deny yourself, you know. So Sheikh hooked me into Sheikh Nazim. I met him about 3, maybe 4 years ago. I was with him in London for 10 days.
In Ramadan?
Yeah. It was the most beautiful time I ever had to see so many brothers and sisters over there of different races.
Each year, the Sheikh spends the month of Ramadan at his mosque in London. His followers migrate there to recharge their spiritual batteries. They are a rainbow of diversity, characterized by a variety of colorful turbans, each color representing a different ethnicity. I asked him about the attraction.
Same question 1 year ago or 2 years ago, asked to me by TV, BBC TV in London. They came for an interview for me in our mosque in Peckham in London, and they were looking so many different people, all of them together, eating, drinking, sleeping, worshipping, and making friendship with a good understanding, listening. And they asked from me, how you are doing that? Some of them from East, some people from West, some people from Far East, some of them from Far West, from English, Turkish, Germans, French, Italians, Arabs, Turks, Kurdish, Russians, Denmark, Swedish. How it can be? They were asking. And I am saying, if you are bringing a pot with honey and putting. After a short while, you should find whole bees coming on it without invitation. No invitation, but they are coming. Perhaps I am doing same thing to their souls. I am bringing something that their souls, that through souls no ethnic groups, no ethnical groups or souls. Souls, all of them, same kind, pure souls. When we are going to put something without any purpose, background, intentions, when we are going more sincere, people more accepting and coming to be with us. That is secret. As long as you are sincere, people may follow you.
And what about the red turbans?
People, they like to be some difference for their dressings. And our African Americans and African people, Muslims, red color, always lovely to them. And red color signing huge power, energy. And those people, you, African Americans or Africans, ulul himma, too high energy people. Therefore, like fire, that signing their high iman and high activities when they are believing in Islam. No one can be like them, keeping Islamic rules, and no one can be more patient than those people. Therefore, it is suitable for them, that color. We may use any color, but it is lovely for them, that red color.
Well, now on this program, my viewers are not just African Americans, but alhamdulillah, residents of the city of Chicago that also represent the same kind of diversity. So if you tell me something about
I am advising to you to put also red.
Takbir! Takbir! Takbir!
Until next time, I'm Gerard Bilal for Take Me to Your Leader. Many of the features and interviews seen on SADAQA-TV receive in-depth coverage in the SADAQA newsletter. For your complimentary issue, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to SADAQA News, Post Office Box 49552, Chicago, Illinois 60649.
The brothers of Tariq Naqshabandi have opened a center on the south side of Chicago. Inshallah, we'll give you more details on an upcoming SADAQA show.
It all comes down to several things in the Quran and the Hadith. When you see the people come into God's religion in great crowds, rejoice, give praise to God.
I saw some students and they were praying on Jummah. And then I got to know some students better. Then I took a course on Islam, basic Islam, and I became a Muslim.
Malika Bilal has a book review for us. Assalamu alaikum, Malika.
Walaikum assalam. Today I'm going to review the book Invincible Abdullah and the Deadly Mountain Revenge by Haji Uthman Hutchinson. This book is about 4 teenage boys up in the mountaintops. You see, Abdullah, who lives in England, comes to visit his cousin Hassan in Pakistan. But when Abdullah sees millions of dollars squirming out of his suitcase, he knows something's wrong. Then Hassan's friends invite Hassan and Abdullah to their village in the mountaintops. The boys think they're in for a lot of fun, but really they're in for a lot of trouble. There are bad guys up there trying to sell drugs. But with Abdullah's knowledge in karate and Hassan's quick and quiet manner and all of their faith in Allah, the boys fight in the name of Allah. These beautifully illustrated pictures really explain this book. I like this book so much, I couldn't wait for the next one to be published. I recommend this book any day.
Thank you, Malika. That's all the time we have for our program this week. But remember, SADAQA should never end. Muslims should never suffer from donor fatigue. And I'm Daoud BinBek. Assalamu alaikum and thank you.
We are the ones who are prepared to offer our minds and our souls and our bodies to go to Somalia to meet with the warring factions and to plead for a ceasefire. We don't care what technique is required. We're going to sit in, we're going to roll in, we're going to crawl in, but we intend to let the people who are leading the cleavages in Somalia know that we cannot rest, we cannot sleep. Their brothers and sisters, 40 million strong in America, cannot rest until we have a ceasefire. We are not looking for credit, not really concerned if our names are never mentioned. The importance is a ceasefire to tell the world 2 things. One, that Africa can transcend personal antagonisms, group antagonisms, to embrace an orderly development of that great continent. Africa is as large as India, China, Western Europe, and the United States put together. The need today to meet the 21st century is to have a well-orchestrated and concrete plan for development, and that must proceed from the position of peace. Peace, a ceasefire and a truce.